So, it's been wonderful getting to know your background. And when I do these podcasts, I really like to see if my guests have some practical things that listeners can learn from, because I think that's how we get better, both as coaches and as athletes, is learning from the specific things that other people are doing. And do I want to try that or not try that? So I've got a list here, and we can go in whatever order you want. We chatted about family and balancing life. Family, you've got 3 active daughters and a husband, and a small business between the two of you, training people. I want to talk to you about your Achilles injury, so injury recovery and the PRP therapy that you did. And then I also want to talk about training and racing in the heat.
All right.
All right. Which would you like to start with?
We can talk about the PRP.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, as I spoke about before, when I was in college, I had developed chronic Achilles tendonitis, and that took me out of track and field altogether. And over the years, between college and when I started to compete competitively in triathlon, was probably about a 15-year span. It started to resurface again in my initial years of triathlon. And in 2009, 2010, I was able to compete in Clearwater at the Half Ironman World Championship. And I remember in 2010 walking away from that race not being able to walk because of the Achilles, my chronic Achilles inflammation. Yeah, they were pretty bad. My husband is a physical therapist, so we had tried almost every modality to be able to get over these Achilles injuries. And I mean, you name it, ionphoresis, E-stem, ibuprofens, ice baths, strengthening. I mean, I tried everything. Yeah. And I was very discouraged after 2010. I didn't know what was I going to do? I'm like, should I just become a roadie and start being a cyclist? Maybe I'll just do open water swims, can improve on that front. And I'm like, no, you know what? I really love the sport. And I started hearing about procedures called prolotherapy and PRP therapy. And my husband was a little bit literate about it. And in 2009, you were starting to hear more and more about these procedures. And I was a good candidate to receive PRP therapy. And for those people who don't know what PRP therapy is, PRP stands for platelet-rich plasma, which is a portion of your blood that is drawn and inserted into a injured tendon or muscle, and hopes to speed up the recovery of that area. So I decided to go for PRP therapy down at UPMC Center of Sports Medicine with Dr. Musal, who was also a triathlete too. And he did the PRP therapy with me. And what it involves is your blood is drawn, it's put into a centrifuge, and it's spun. And so your red blood cell part is separated from your plasma portion of your blood. So what the doctors do is they take the plasma portion of your blood and they re-inject it, like I said before, into your injured area. So I went down to UPMC in December of 2010, and I did 3 sessions 2 weeks apart, and I got multiple injections in both of my Achilles.
So you did one Achilles the first session, and then the other Achilles the next session?
I did just one Achilles the first session, my worst Achilles, which was my left side, and then when I went back, and then depending on how much plasma they draw, like if they can draw a lot of plasma out of you, or a lot of blood out of you and a lot of plasma out of you, they can do multiple injections at each session.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on how hydrated you are and if they can get good blood from you. So I think the first session I did the left Achilles, I think I might have had two injections in that left Achilles. And then 2 weeks later, I went back and got multiple injections in both the Achilles. And that made it a very interesting post 2 weeks after after.
Oh, I bet.
Because I had shuffle walk everywhere I went.
Yeah, well, that would be the other reason for separating them, is because you would at least have one good ankle, okay ankle to walk on while the other one was healing from the injections, right?
Right. Yeah, because we, with my husband's physical therapy background, we immobilized that left Achilles for about 6 days after my first session. But then when I went back for the second session, we did both. So that, like I said, that made it a tricky 2 weeks because I couldn't really wear 2 walking boots.
Yeah,
at the same time. Yeah.
Even wearing one walking boot is tough.
Oh, and I know, isn't it? So I was teaching kindergarten at the same time. So, 2 walking boots and doing the hokey pokey every day with 5-year-olds was not going to work.
Uh-huh.
So, but I learned how to sort of shuffle walk my way through it. And then I went for my third session 2 weeks after and got multiple injections in both of the Achilles too. And it's not very pleasant procedure. I had no painkillers I didn't go under. They actually advocate that you do not use ibuprofens because they want your body's natural healing process to occur. Mm-hmm. It was very painful. Like, it was by the second or third session, I really just had a grimace every time I went in there because I knew it was going to really hurt.
Yeah, you've probably had a smile on your face the first day because you were looking forward to it, and then the smile probably went away by the end.
Right, it was like childbirth, You're like, after childbirth, you're like, I am not doing that again, and then you have your second child, and you're like, I'm not doing that again, and you have your time.
Yeah. So after you have the injections, it's a couple of weeks of the boot, and then I imagine you had to probably go through physical therapy again, or what kind of modalities did you use?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did everything at home. My husband prescribed everything for me at home. I just started with just basic T-band work, sitting down. Mm-hmm. Pointing my toes, bringing them back, pointing my toes, bringing them back, doing them different angles. I started with just basic, stretch T-band work to body weight strengthening, on the side of the stairs, doing eccentric calf raises, eventually to weighted strengthening. And I sort of progressed organically. I love that word you use. I just progressed on my feedback, how I was feeling. If I was a little bit sore the next day, I knew, okay, I'm not going to progress. I'm just going to stay at 3 sets of 10 until I get a nice positive post day and feeling good. And, just a lot of calf raises. So as far as strengthening goes, I was on strengthening pretty much every day with them. I also did some water therapy. I bought funny looking water shoes that that I would go to the pool, and I would run in the pool with them. I would start with water that was about neck deep, and then, go closer and closer to the shallow end as I progressed.
Oh, so you're adding body weight, basically.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yep. And eventually in the water, I ended up starting doing running in the shallow end, and even some plyometric kind of workouts. And eventually I was able to do plyometric workouts out of water. When I really started getting to some of the plyometric workouts, I knew my Achilles were really coming around, because if I tried doing that when I had my initial chronic.
Yeah, I'm sure that really inhibited what you were able to do, not just because of the pain, but certain activities like plyometrics would just be impossible with the chronic Achilles problems, right?
Right, exactly. So, we increase volume, increase intensity as I progress through them on the PT end. I always say a problem is a problem. A problem is a problem until you fix it. A lot of times when we have injuries as runners, there's something biomechanically going on that may be causing that injury. And so, we did a lot of treadmill running where my husband would watch me and try to figure out, okay, what's going on? Why are you having this Achilles tendonitis issue? And with my past being a hurdler, I was always trained to have these enormous, gigantic strides because I was a three-stepper. Yeah, I was a three-stepper in the 100-meter hurdles, and you had to stride out to go over the hurdles. So I had huge stride lengths, and I also, came down on my foot a little differently than what an ideal distance runner should be coming down, on the stride. So we revamped my gait a bit. I tried to become more of like a mid-foot kind of striker. I increased my cadence, which was really hard for me because I was like I said, I had these long strides. My cadence was slow, so I increased my running cadence. I listened to a lot of songs on my Walkman that had 90 plus.
I read that in the Lava article, and I wondered how you react when you hear those songs now. Do you still enjoy listening to those same songs, or do you get a wave of nausea?
And I know, really. It makes me chuckle, but I replace those songs with other songs along the way. The Gambler is a perfect, Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, that's a perfect 90 plus cadence song. But yeah, so I would listen to songs that had 90 plus cadence and made sure that I was running to the beat of them. And so that was like ingrained into my head. So yeah, as far as fixing my gait, that helped my progression. And I also am a firm believer of massage work, whether it's ART or myofascial. It's important to realign those fibers as they're healing themselves. And it was really interesting. My husband would do some of the massage work on me, and he was amazed on how I would have these nodules initially on my Achilles post PRP, and as the months progressed, the nodules just basically disappeared.
Wow. How often were you getting that kind of therapy? Was it daily or twice a week?
Oh no. I would say once every week or two.
Okay, so not all that frequently.
No.
I'm thinking in terms of someone, anyone listening from home who may be trying to do some of this on their own without professional intervention, just the recovery tools that we talk about a lot, foam rollers, stretching, that sort of thing, active stretching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't as much as you would think so. Like I would say once every week or two. Okay. We would do the massage work. Yeah, and I stayed away from ibuprofens and just, built those tendons back the best I could build them. My husband compared them to a frayed rope.
Yeah.
When it gets frayed, all those little tendon pieces they fray away. And so when you build them back up, they're not going to be like the original rope.
Yeah.
When you build them back up, you're going to try your best to make everything go back into place.
Sure. How long was the total healing time, would you say, until you were back to the point where you felt like you could do your running that you were doing before?
Yeah, I was probably off running that was November, for about 3 months.
Okay.
2.5 to 3 months. And I was back on the starting line at Columbia Triathlon in May of that year. And I was able to compete in May, and my PRP was in December. So 6 months, about a 6-month process.
And that was in 2011?
Yes.
And how did you finish in the Columbia Triathlon?
I placed in my age group. I can't remember exactly where I placed. I might have won my age group.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website. That was kind of a baited question. You actually won your age group that race, so that's a fantastic return to play, I would say.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much going on the podium. It was I was on the podium and my legs weren't hurting.
Oh, yeah, what a big difference, huh?
Yeah, just finishing that race, and because I ran with chronic Achilles pain for about a whole year leading up to that PRP.
Wow.
And so just like going to the finish line and not having pain, I was like, wow, is this for real?
Uh-huh. And how did that change your outlook for continuing training? I mean, I have to imagine it was a complete 180.
Yeah, I mean, it really made me focus a lot more on recovery and maintenance. To this day, I do calf raises about every day. Pretty much, every day I do maintenance work on my Achilles. I sleep with dorsiflexion splints, which pull my toe back, and it makes my Achilles be in a stretched state as I sleep. I look really funny going to bed every night.
I bet.
But to me, it's worth it for me being able to run every day. So yeah, I mean, I've learned that, I have to maintain them. Recovery is huge. And, especially at my age, recovery is even huger.
Yeah, because as we get older, it takes longer to recover. So it's really important to be on top of those things.
Right.